Well, g'day and welcome back to the shed. Now, this is part 2 of this GENALEX radiogram that seems to be going on and on. This was going to be a quick recommissioning of an older restoration I did a few years ago, but it hasn't quite gone to plan. I started by just looking over the chassis, giving it a quick once over and fitting the nice new dial glass I got from Mike Ronan and breaking that just through the corner, and it's still broken. And then when I put the deck in it, I found that the pickup cartridge had deteriorated over the years it's been stored in the shed and no longer worked. I have a few options, and I did have this Ronette cartridge lying around which I thought I'd try fitting to it. I have managed to fit it to the head shell. I won't tell you how much fun it was fitting this thing because it wasn't. But I've got it in now. I'll spare you the gory details, and I've figured out how best to connect up the stereo to mono. I think that will work. So I'll put that in. I do have a couple of other options, and one is to fit the old Garrard RC110 out of my other radiogram into this one, and putting in my new Garrard AT6 to my living room radiogram. So I'm swapping decks around. That will give me time to work on this one, get it the way I want it. Maybe someone's looking for one. They are probably rare in good working order, I don't know. So that's the basic plan, but it depends on the AT6 being in good order. Hopefully it will just need a grease and oil change, and it'll work, but we'll just have to see. I want to make sure it's okay before I go pulling the RC110 out of my deck, out of my radiogram I mean. But let's just put this in the GENALEX radiogram and just see how it goes. Now the output, that's another issue. The output from this isn't going to be anywhere near as high as the output from the original crystal cartridge. They put out about 5 volts peak to peak. This won't do anything like that, but it should put out enough to hear it, and I'll probably have to look at making up some kind of preamp arrangement with it, and I have some ideas about that too, which I'll explain to you in a minute. So I've hooked it up with that cartridge in it, the Ronette. It won't be as good as the original, but we'll see how we go. So she's warmed up and
being overweight or obese in children,
running.
Followed by...
So let's put a couple of records on it and just see how it goes. A couple of 78s. We'll load them onto the changer and put it on gram. A little bit of hum there, but I haven't got it hooked up properly yet. And this could be music, so I'll have to be careful. Can't play too much of that, it might be music.
It's lonesome away from your kindred and all with no beer.
Well, we are obviously getting sound through it. It doesn't sound too bad. I don't know how the volume levels will stack up with the radio. Probably well below it. Let's just see.
But the smile on his face.
Don't hold back. Oh no, it was a bit more close.
Yeah, a lot lower than the radio. Probably lower than the Bluetooth as well. Although I have got the aerial hooked up to it now, so the radio's coming in quite strongly. It would, I guess, normally be run with just a couple of feet of wire on it anyway, and I've got this hooked out up to my outside aerial. I don't know how good the AGC is on this, but it doesn't seem to be all that effective, and if you get a strong station it really booms in. Well, that might be the best I can do with it for now. I will try and get another original cartridge. I don't know what my chances are. There's a couple for sale in the States, but it's going to cost me $100 by the time they're landed here, and probably take a month or so to arrive. I could look for a better turnover cartridge, and this does have the capability of playing 45s and 33s, so it might not be a bad modification. I really would like this working as originally intended, that's the only thing. Well, the cabinet's looking reasonably good. I finished it in satin finish rather than high gloss. I think it suits the cabinet. It's not a bad little piece of furniture. Hopefully someone will buy it. The next thing I've got to deal with is, apart from the low output from the cartridge, how to switch from Bluetooth to phono. Now, both the Bluetooth and the record player feed into the phono input, and I had the idea, I was originally going to use a switch, but I had the idea of running a relay off the turntable motor, so it defaults to Bluetooth, but when you turn the turntable on it switches over. The only problem with that is I'd have to use a 240 volt relay, and if I ran the audio through that relay it would almost certainly induce a lot of hum. So what I could possibly do is pick up 5 volts from the Bluetooth board, or 6 volts or something, run that through the 240 volt relay and get it to switch a signal relay with the audio on it. So as much to sort it out in my own head as anything, I've drawn out this this scribble. Okay, so we've got an LM358 op amp here. Now the idea of that is to boost the signal up from the cartridge. It's controlled by feedback from the output here to the input here, and I was going to put a pot in here so that I can adjust it rather than just fixed resistors. The input runs through the signal relay here. That's the normally open contacts. When the relay is energized, that will be connected to the phono input here. When it's not, then the Bluetooth is connected to the phono input. Now here we've got the 240 volt relay, and again the normally open contacts are connected to the signal relay. So when the motor goes on, the signal relay closes and the output from the cartridge, the output from the op amp is connected through here. The cartridge goes to the input here and ground, audio ground. There's a schematic of Manuel's Bluetooth board with the op amp in it, and you've seen that before no doubt, but I'll put a link up in the description to Manuel's video about this. It was a few years ago now. So I can pretty easily pick up 5 volts here out of the regulator from here and here. It then goes into this, which is a DC-DC converter, and that effectively isolates the supply from this ground here, and you've got a separate audio ground. Likewise, I can pretty easily pick up plus and minus 9 volts from here. This is a voltage doubler, runs down from the bridge rectifier, well, runs down from the 6.3 volt power supply basically. So we've got plus 9 and minus 9 here. So being lazy, I can pretty easily just run some wires back to the Bluetooth board, and I'm pretty confident that this will supply enough to run the signal relay without causing any extra drain on the Bluetooth board, particularly as when the turntable's not in operation, this will be disconnected anyway, so the Bluetooth board won't have any additional drain on it. Not that I think it would make any difference, but once you turn the turntable on, it will then take voltage from here, but of course the Bluetooth won't be operating. So that's the theory. I don't know how well it'll work, but the next thing is to make this up. Now that's easier said than done. So using what I've got lying around, I've got a 240 volt relay here. As you can see, if you look inside this, the contact wire runs right past the coil, so that's, you're not going to get away with putting audio through that. I've got a couple of signal relays here. I think one of these is 5 volts and one's 12, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to check them. Little pot, 25 turn 100k pot to adjust the input from the op amp. I've got an op amp lying around here somewhere. I can't put my hand on it just at the moment. I suppose I can mount it all on this. I don't know. That might be the easiest way to do it. I'll have to mount it on something. Okay, I've given up on trying to put it on that other board. I've got a few of these Bluetooth supply boards still lying around, and I'm all into using what I've got lying around, especially for prototyping. So this is the Electronics Old and New Bluetooth Supply version 4.1, dated 2/22, so it's 3 years since Manuel did this. But it's a great little board. I've used a few of them so far and never had a problem with them. So having a spare one of these, it's got a spot to mount the amp, it's got a spot to mount the caps going into it. I can pick up the power supply and use the existing tracks. I don't know where I'm going to put the signal relay. I can probably just glue it on here or something. There's nowhere I can put the legs in there. But this just makes it easy, and I'm lazy when it comes to these things. I just want it to work. Okay, well, skipping forward quite a bit, I've made it up using a spare one of these boards. So here's the audio coming out of the Bluetooth port, goes across here and onto the signal relay here. Coming out of the signal relay, we've got this, which goes straight to the gram input of the amplifier. This piece of coax here goes to the pickup. These wires run to the contacts of the signal relay. Now I'm not sure where I'm going to mount that yet, so I haven't cut them short. I haven't yet hooked up the 240 volts to that. That'll be the next thing. There's the little op amp down here, and here is the adjustable feedback for it, so that it can be adjusted to bring the pickup to the same level as the Bluetooth at least, and hopefully the radio. So let's see what we can do about getting this thing wired up and seeing if it works. Okay, so I've picked up the wiring from the active to the switch terminal here, and this is the other side of the switch. So on with the active first, I guess. Pull that heat shrink up there. And same with the other side. Now I'll have to make up some sort of a little bracket to hold that there, but that shouldn't be too much difficulty. Just need to work out how much space I have around this mounting bolt. This doesn't matter, but I'll just check the mounting board to make sure it's not going to foul on anything. It might have to go over here actually. Perhaps even double-sided tape would do it, I'm not sure. Okay, I marked a template from the board in the radiogram. That's the centre of the mounting bolt, and transferred it roughly to here. So I guess I could make a bracket to go across to here. It probably won't interfere with any of this mechanism. Or I could just put it up here with double-sided tape. I'm not sure which. I might actually do that for a start, and if it all works okay, then I'll possibly make up a bracket for it. Okay, so now we connect the 5-volt line from the board to the normally open contacts of the relay. And just solder them in there. And I've left possibly too much wire there, but I might need to make sure that it will reach underneath the deck around to the board where I'm going to mount it. I've screwed this thing to a piece of wood just to make it easier. I'll probably put a hole in each end and just put a screw through to the radiogram underneath somewhere. Okay, so I'll just give this a clean with isopropyl, put some double-sided tape on it just for now. I better put the cover back on this switch mechanism. The other thing I've got to do is attach this wire here to the, not this one, this one, to the phono input here, and I'll probably leave that at the length it is. That's alright, I think. I'll keep this for something else perhaps. So I also need to attach this ground wire to the chassis ground here, which wasn't connected before, and that was why I was getting that hum problem. As soon as I hooked that up, it all disappeared. So I need to get a bit of heat into this. Just need to make sure that connects. That should be alright. Gee, the wind in that tree with the branches dragging on the roof of the shed is driving me nuts. I might have to get up and prune it very shortly. Okay, so I've cleaned this area with isopropyl. I'm going to stick it top down, basically because the side I wanted to stick it to has paper on it, and I couldn't really get the paper off cleanly. This should be alright though, and it'll probably give me better access to it. Yeah, that's pretty good, I think. Okay, time to put the deck with its entrails dangling back in the cabinet. I may as well put the turntable on. Now I want that there so that the brake doesn't catch. No, it is particularly difficult, this one, because this little peg which operates the mechanism has to go through this slot, as well as engaging it with the idler wheel and having the brake off. So, no, it won't go down. There, that's fallen in. Okay, I'll just wind it through its cycle. If I put that down, maybe it'll okay, that's sorted out. Now to hook up all the bits underneath. And a little clamp should do the trick, at least for the moment. Everything about this is awkward. Okay, maybe I can get one of these on here. Nope. Not with one hand, I can't. I'll have to lie on my back underneath. I'm getting too old for this. Okay, so that's held there for the moment. Now, just need to strip these. Alright, so that's the 6.3 hooked up. Over here I've already hooked up the phono output. That goes to the relay, the deck. I think we're ready to try this out. All I can say is it'd better work. Okay, here we go. Everything else has gone wrong with this. I don't suppose this will be any different, but you never know your luck. So I'm certainly going to do it on dim bulb. Dim bulb is on, and at first I'm just going to put it on the radio, see what happens with that. So power is on, switching it on. That looks pretty normal. There we go. I don't know how it'll go on dim bulb. We might have some. Yeah, we've got reception there.
So that's quite impressive. Ben Long, 4 goals. He is.
It's not great, the radio on dim bulb, but it works. Switching it on to gram. Well, first I'll take it off dim bulb because the Bluetooth won't work otherwise. Okay, on to gram. We'll see if the Bluetooth works.
Matt Flynn kicked the goal from 13, but
Okay, so the Bluetooth works. Now, I'm going to go back onto dim bulb for this because I'm not at all sure I trust this arrangement with the relay, but here goes. Shit, that's not good. Something wrong there. Hang on, what happened? The relay is, yeah, something's not right there. Making noises. The turntable worked. Maybe it's the dim bulb that's stopping it from working properly. Yeah, the relay's chattering. What happens if I go off dim bulb then? Because that wasn't full brightness. Okay, I'm going to put on a 78 and at great risk to life and limb I'm going off dim bulb and we'll see what happens, but I'm going to turn it off quickly if anything goes badly wrong. Oh, so far so good. Okay, do we have... Alright, it's playing. Now if I reject that, we should be back on Bluetooth. Is that still paired? I don't know. Bluetooth stops. Record plays. But at greatly reduced volume. So I'm not sure if the op-amp's doing its job. I did have that adjustable resistor, or that little pot attached to it to vary the feedback. So I might try adjusting that. I also might look at the connections to this cartridge. Maybe they've gone not quite right. And we're back on Bluetooth. Okay, proof of concept. It's working, except we're not getting enough volume through the cartridge here. Just have a quick look, see if a wire's come off or something. This wiring here is very dodgy. but I think that's right. Okay, I've taken the board out of the radiogram again. I don't want to have to take this out and put it back in too many times. It's not much fun. But we're not getting enough gain out of this op amp. That's the problem. I've checked all the connections. Everything's good. I actually connected the cartridge straight into the back of the radio, the phono input, and I got better volume out of it than I was getting out of this thing. Now, the first thing I suspected was the feedback resistor. That's this little 25 turn pot. It's 100k and it measures a healthy 100k, 101. I did get a little bit of an increase in volume as I wound it up, but certainly nothing like enough. So it's not that. I'm convinced it's not any of the wiring I put together here. That is as it should be. Now I'm also using 100k feedback resistors on the Bluetooth board here, and I'm getting heaps of gain. In fact, I'm thinking of reducing them a bit because I'm actually getting the Bluetooth louder than the radio in some cases. Depends on the station it's tuned to. So what is happening here? I could just try increasing the feedback resistor until I get enough gain out of this, but I'm not sure that it's doing anything at all. So there's a number of ways I could test it, and none of them are easy. I could run a long line back to the radiogram and put 6.3 volts AC on this and make sure we're getting the voltage through. It did occur to me that perhaps this voltage doubler circuit here is not supplying enough current to run both chips. That seems unlikely. I would think that it would be adequate for both. The other possibility is the op amp itself. Now that's been laying around in a box in the shed for quite some time. It could have gone bad. I could have cooked it, soldering it into the socket even. That's certainly not unheard of. If that doesn't work, I'll try putting in a bigger feedback resistor. I'll check the voltages, hook it up and check the voltages. Actually, what I can do now is check what voltage it is getting with this thing hooked up. I can run a couple of wires back to the 6.3 volts, so I'll do that for a start before we go any further. Okay, so I've run the 6.3 volt line back from the radio. Gee, I don't want them to touch. Just check what we're actually getting on here. Just have a look. 6.2725. So that's all right. Now I'll just turn the radiogram off for a moment. I'll just do it at the dim bulb. There we go. So I'll hook that up to the board, check the voltages on the board and see where we go from there, I guess. I'll just twist these on. Okay, I'll put a bit of tape on them because I don't want them touching anything or coming loose. That should be safe enough. Okay, so I've replaced the feedback resistor, hooked it up to the 6.3 volts. Let's turn the radiogram on. And we've got the LED blinking on the Bluetooth board here. So we've obviously got voltage to that. Okay, so let's just see what we're getting across this op amp here. That might be the wrong way around, but yeah. 0.6. You're kidding. .7. Okay, why is that not working? Over here, now this is the 12 volts coming in from the board. .7. Alright, there's something very much not right there. This red and blue wire here connects straight across the caps to the voltage doubler. So that should be giving me, just in there, should be giving me plus and minus 9 volts. So we've got a problem there, obviously. Okay, what am I doing wrong? We've got 5 volts AC coming in here, goes through the bridge rectifier, then down through these 2 diodes to the 2 100 UF caps. Nothing wrong there that I can see. Okay, that is off. I guess the most likely reason we don't have voltage there is that something on this board is pulling it down. So what I think I'll do is I'll just take out the red wire and see what that does to the voltage on this board. I'm kind of hoping that that will be that. It's most likely the chip that's been damaged, if anything. And my soldering iron's gone to sleep now, of course. Alright, now we'll take out this red wire. There we go. Put it up there, and now we'll see what we've got on this board. Alright, so 6.3 is attached, nothing seems to be shorting or anything. Turning on. Yeah, it's running. Okay, so DC volts, let's just see what we've got on it now. So the plus should be there, the minus there. Nothing. Is that right? 0.7 volts. 0.8 volts. Okay. Let's just have a look at the schematic, see how this thing's laid out. There's something not right here. Okay, so with it switched on, from the audio ground here, which is that pin there, we should be seeing some voltages on that voltage doubler diode here. One here, we should be getting 0.3, and here minus 0.4. So from audio ground to here we should be picking up, we should be seeing that 6 volts, 6.3 volts on these diodes here. Point 0.5. What are we getting across here? 6.1 volts AC. Okay, there's something funny going on here. Now these wires here, just checking with my old analog meter, should show something around, well, it's not showing much. That's on 50 volts DC. Try 10. Not much. That's the 10 volt range. It's showing about 1 volt. But the board here is working. The diode is flashing, which indicates that Bluetooth is working, so we must have 5 volts on it. I guess I can check that here. I'll go down, we're on 10 volts, so we should be seeing 5 volts on here. Being careful not to... Yep. Or 4 point something according to this, but that's alright. So, for some reason, this voltage doubler circuit is just not doing its thing. Okay, I guess this is a process of elimination. I've taken out the 10 UF caps as well, 100 UF caps, the 2 tantalums, and they all test okay. The resistors test okay, these 200 ohm resistors, but they feed the chip itself. So I've lifted both of them. Now we should get voltage on here. If not, there's a fault in reality. So let's just see what we're getting here. And nothing. No, we're not getting anything. Nothing. Why? Okay. I was getting a bit frustrated with this, so I've put it away for the night and came back in the morning, and it's amazing how everything falls into place when you're thinking clearly. Okay, so for this voltage doubler to work, this central point between the 2 caps that charge up in opposite directions has to be referenced to the other side of the AC. It says audio ground here, but there's no internal connection on the board for that. That connection doesn't happen until you plug in the audio lead to the amplifier. Basically, the audio ground is the chassis ground. It's connected to ground in the chassis where the audio input is. So is the 6.3 volts AC. So once you plug at least the ground lead into the amplifier, then this side of the AC is referenced to here. Otherwise it's not. This is just floating, so you're not going to measure anything. So that explains why I wasn't getting anywhere. Well, there we go. I put it back together, connected it up, and it's working. Not only is it working, but we're measuring a decent voltage on the input. There we go, more than 10. About, well, that's on 50 volt range, 50, 20, about 15 volts, something like that. So yeah, that explains a few things. So looking at my little audio preamp, I decided yesterday to install its own voltage doubler circuit on it. I didn't need to do that. Now I realise all I needed to do was put in a ground reference to the centre of the 2 caps to here, and I would have had a reference for the 12 volts. It really wasn't, or the 15 volts as it is, whatever. I didn't need to do all this, but I've done it now, so I may as well continue with it. And what I'm going to do is, instead of pinching the voltage off the voltage doubler on the other board, I'm just going to hook it up to the 6.3 volts AC, and it'll generate its own voltage. But I'll have to make sure that it has a reference from ground, audio ground, through to the centre of those 2 caps that charge up with the 12 volts. That's the voltage to run the op amp. That's them there. There's the 2 diodes in there. So I'll do that and see if we get better results. Well, I've grabbed a whole bunch of coax cable and I've hooked it up to the radiogram so I can have it on the bench. I don't want to put it in and find I have to take it out again to mess with it. So it's playing away on Bluetooth now and going pretty well. Now I'll start a record playing, and the relay isn't hooked up at the moment. That's these two wires here. Now when I connect these two wires here, that will close the relay and it'll switch over to record player. I'm kind of hearing something, but it's not very loud.
On Blueberry Hill.
Yeah, well, we're still not getting any volume. I'm not really sure what's going on there. I would have expected more than that, but that's not going to be good enough. So let's just check some voltages for a start. We should be getting the voltage, double voltage across here, which should be about 15 volts or something. We are actually getting, that's 10, about 14 volts. Bit of parallax here, but I think about 14 volts, which should be enough to power the chip adequately. Of course, I'm not sure what's going into it and whether it's actually doing anything or not. Okay, so I've got that hooked up to the pickup, so that we're looking at what's coming out of the pickup. This is on 0.1 of a volt per division, so we're getting, yeah, maybe 0.1 of a volt peak to peak. So yeah, the cartridge really isn't putting out very much at all. So now let's have a look at what's coming out of the amp, out of the op amp. Just a case of having the cables on the bench here is handy because you can just swap things around fairly easily. Okay, so this is the output of the op amp. So we are getting gain there, but clearly not enough to bring the volume up level with the Bluetooth. Now let me see, if I disconnect the relay wires to switch Bluetooth on again, that's the Bluetooth output. And on 0.2 of a volt per division, so 2.4, we're getting at least a volt peak to peak, more than that, about 1.5 volts peak to peak. That's if I can rely on this scope. Oh, it's going over that now. Yeah, so we're getting a good healthy output on Bluetooth compared to the output on the pickup. Which is that. Back to Bluetooth. I'm not sure what's playing on Bluetooth. Yeah, nothing very loud, it's piano music. Well, you won't often hear me say this, but I give up. I've had enough of this thing. It's not going to work for me. There's obviously not up for the job. I think there's impedance matching issues probably. And with this thing, I've got no idea how to deal with that. I'm not really used to dealing with op amps. Also, I don't think that Ronette cartridge that I'm trying to use is up for the job anyway. It doesn't sound really good. The output's down. I suspect it's on the way out as well. And I don't have anything else in the shed or anything available at the moment that'll play 78s. So I'm kind of stuck. So I've decided to put this aside for a while. I'll bring it out later, perhaps when some other options come up. But for now, that's it for this radiogram. Sorry I haven't got a better outcome for you. I was hoping to get this all fixed up for this for this video, but that's not going to happen. And I've got a shed full of radios that need looking at. So I'll be back soon with something a lot more fun than this, hopefully. So thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed watching me struggle with this thing, and we'll catch you next time. So bye for now.